it's Alex. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for joining me today. I've got a couple of things to show you that I've made recently, both dresses and quite different from each other. One is a more traditional shirt dress, almost vintage style, and it's a big four pattern, which is not like me. It's Butterick 6702, B6702, and then a more casual dress, which is a style arc pattern. I think it's called the Richie dress, which is a kind of t-shirt dress for lolling around in. But first off, and right on cue, I just wanted to mention that this top I'm wearing is the bias cut Cami that kind of is the sister pattern to the bias cut skirt pattern, both from Alyssa C. Montano's, which are free patterns, and I made the skirt in that sort of, what's the word I want, satin, brown satin skirt. And I wanted to talk to you about the fact that my straps are always falling down. It's doing it perfectly on cue. And I know that anybody with any sense would say, well, make them shorter. But my problem is I have this with pretty much anything with small straps, and even some bras actually, although they're usually a bit grippier. But yes, if I made these straps any smaller, the top of the cami would be kind of impinging on the armholes. So I've actually made it as small as I can, but this keeps happening all the time. So I'm assuming it's something to do with me. I didn't think I had particularly slopey shoulders, maybe I do. So I really like this pattern. It was dead easy, and the fabric might be a bit familiar because it was an offcut of this fabric from Sister Mintaka that I used for, I think it was a Fibre Mood Norma. And because I made the bias cut skirt recently, I kept thinking it was a shame I hadn't got more of the satin fabric to make the matching top, because then you've kind of almost got a dress, haven't you? But I thought this would go well with that. Obviously I'm not wearing it now. I'm wearing these Chiara pants from Tessuti, which if you are following me on Instagram and following me Made May, you'll know that this is the third day in a row that I'm wearing it. Anyway, I thought it would go with this as well. But straps, any ideas, please let me know in the comments below. I am also about halfway through making the Calvin wrap dress. I think that's a true bias pattern, which also is very, it's wrap, but it also has thin little straps like this. And on that pattern it has you use the fixings that you have in the bra, in a bra, the kind of hoop and the slider that goes at the back. Now I didn't have, well I did, but they weren't the right colours. So I ordered some of those and they arrived yesterday. So I'm going to use those on that Calvin wrap dress and see whether making it adjustable helps. And I could possibly even take this out and redo it. The other thing I considered was I could put a little bit of very thin elastic through the tube of the strap and make the elastic a little bit shorter so it would sort of ping in. Anyway, nice and easy. I mean, it's probably an hour, this whole pattern to make, and I'm really happy with it, It's just a cami top. I tell you one thing I do like it over and above, what's the cami that everybody makes, Ogden, is it has darts. And even for somebody like me who hasn't got huge boobs, the darts just do make a difference. And I always found that Ogden cami sits in a really weird way, that it sort of flares out when you're in profile, which this doesn't. Maybe it's because it's on the bias, don't know. Anyway, I'll get on with these dresses. Okay, so bit of a departure from me. As I said, it's a big four pattern. This is the Butterick 6702. One of the reasons why big four drive me slightly nuts is the numerical system. Yeah, quite different from my usual style. I think what happened was I was watching the new series of Sex and the City, like lots of people. to be honest, I could have done without it in my life. I didn't think it was that great. But anyway, I was watching it and I got a bit caught up in Carrie wearing a shirt dress, and I thought, and it was a typical nipped in at the waist full skirt, and of course ridiculously high heels. Do I wear high heels on a regular basis? No. Weddings, that's about it. And when I do wear high heels, I tend to wear, in fact I'm about to put them on to wear with this dress, I tend to wear my trusty old wedge ones because I can actually walk on those. So, not really sure why I thought I would be tippy-tapping around the northwest of England in a semi-vintage style shirt dress, but I did. I got caught up. I also liked the idea, there's been lots of gingham fabric around at the moment. There really are some very beautiful ones. There are some nice ones. Where did I see it? I can't remember. If I can remember, I'll put a title up. But one of the fabric shops has got a really nice, I think it's a double gauze gingham where the size of the gingham is different. It's on one side, it's smaller on one side and bigger on the other. It looks really beautiful. But I liked the idea of using, these are driving me insane. I like the idea of using a gingham in a non-traditional gingham colour, so not blue or red or even green. So this is more like a sort of browny colour. It is a poly cotton rather than a cotton, so it was pretty inexpensive, and it came from Textile Express. I think they're called Textile Express, yes, in Oswestry. So, have to say, sewing with a cotton or a polycotton stable fabric was a joy, especially for something sort of shirty. Yeah, I snuck a shirt in really, didn't I, having said I don't make any shirts. So I'll go put it on. I have to say that I was a little bit nervous about making something with a big 4 pattern because obviously I've been sewing for a long time, and when I first started sewing, that's all we had. And I was forever finding that those big 4 patterns were huge on me, and trying to understand, you know, the secret key to getting the sizing right on a big 4 pattern is something that has evaded me all these years. And then when the indie patterns came out and I found them to be much more helpful in terms of sizing and fit, I haven't made that many big 4 patterns since then. So I was a bit nervous about that, but I really like this one. I bought it from the Fold line. I kind of don't buy that many patterns from the Fold line, and I feel like I should support them because actually I love all their videos and their information. I think they're brilliant, so pleased to have done that for once. Do my usual. Behind that door is a bit of storage and my son's drums. So I'll go hide in the drum room, put it on, and you can see how it looks. So just before I put my wedge heels on, I had my trainers on, I wanted to just see how it looks with trainers. Right, shoes on properly. Quite different for me really, isn't it? I don't tend to wear things as traditional? I don't know. Feminine? Not sure what the word would be. As you can see, I've made a midi version. I think there were a couple of different lengths available, and there's also a version with a handkerchief hem, which is not my cup of tea. I think there was another sleeve option, but it was pretty much a 3/4 sleeve and then just turned up with no cuff or anything. And obviously, as you can see, I went for the long sleeve with a cuff. I didn't go for a placket. I just did the thing where you bind it because I find it easier, and I'm not sure I needed the formality of a placket. In fact, I'm not sure that there even was one in the pattern. I'm holding a belt here because while I was making it, I was thinking I bet it's one of those dresses that needs a little belt, and ideally I'd have one in, I don't know, a different colour or something, but I haven't got one. I had a quick look last night, and this, which is a sort of light gold, who knows what I bought this for, is the best I've got. Something I'll keep my eyes peeled on, or eyes peeled for even. So yeah, actually, I do really, really like it. I feel like it's fitting fine now, but it did take some tweaking. Now my measurements put me as an 18, as usual, bust and hips. Well, as usual, bust and hips were in the same size bracket, and a 20 for my waist. So I did the usual blend out to a 20 at the waist, but kept everything else as an 18. And I did get to a point where I'd created the bodice and the skirt, put them together, then I tried it on. And when I tried it on, I felt that the waist wasn't sitting in the right position at all. It was much lower down, and that's not really the style of this dress at all. So I did take a photograph. I put a piece of elastic where my natural waist was, or where I wanted the waist to be, and it was quite a bit out. So I took a good 4.5 centimetres off the bodice and joined it back onto the skirt. But that's a little bit problematic because you've got the dart, well, it's a seam on the skirt, but on the top it's a dart that matches up at the waistline here. And because I'd taken quite a chunk off the bodice, I was concerned that they might not match anymore. And there was the odd one that was maybe a centimetre out, so I had to do a bit of easing. But I did get there, just with a bit of fabric manipulation. I did get them to all line up, and also at the back. The dress doesn't come with any pockets, so I did draft, I remembered before it was too late, I did draft some inseam pockets, so that's really good because we can't be without them, can we? In fact, I know some people said that they don't like pockets when I last mentioned that on the Marilla Walker dress. But yeah, for me, I don't really put anything in them other than my hands. I think it's that British socially awkward thing. You know, sometimes when you're talking to somebody, you don't quite know what to do with your hands. So that's where the pockets come in. So yes, drafted the pockets myself. And even when I put the top onto the skirt, I still found that it was too big at the waist. I had noticed that at that earlier fitting point, but I thought I'd wait and see what happened when I put the two together. So I did actually have to take about 1.5 centimetres off either side. And in fact, I had to continue it all the way down, so it meant redoing the pockets again. Anyway. At least it fits, and that's the most important thing. Couple of other changes I made were that when I it was one of those button bands that comes in 2 pieces, each side, and when I put one piece on, it was really wide, and on that fitting photograph, it's got just one of those button bands in with the seam allowance pressed under. And it was a lot wider than I wanted it to be. And given at that point, I was already thinking that it was a bit too loose. In fact, what I did was I just used one of the button pieces, so I'd got a narrower button band. I did, however, spend ages and ages trying to match the lines on the button band with the squares on the on both the skirt and the bodice. And I used those, I don't know if you've seen them, but they're like double pins. I bought them from a fabric shop that's not operating any longer, but they are available. I'll put a link to somebody that's got them. And they are absolutely brilliant for pattern matching. They worked a treat. But what was so annoying, of course, was that when I then took off the excess from the bodice and the skirt weren't meeting at the same point. So the button band is just a little bit, it's not that it's out, it's just not quite as, I'm being picky, it's just not quite as neat all the way down. I'll see if I can take a photograph to add in. But overall, I really like the dress. I really hope that I wear it, which is partly why I popped in and quickly looked to see what it looked like with the trainers, because I am probably going to get more out of it if I am happy wearing it with flats of some sort. And I was in two minds about whether to keep the sleeves at this length, because I wondered if it's warm enough for me to be walking around with bare legs, will I want it to be short sleeved? But actually the weather right now here in the UK is perfect for this dress, because it is doing that weird kind of thing where sometimes it's quite cold and then later on in the day it will get warmer again. So in fact I'm quite happy with this, with the long sleeve. The only thing I wish I'd done is I wish that I hadn't used a fabric that is dyed onto a white background, so that when you roll up the sleeves or on the collar here, you're seeing white rather than the gingham. Yeah, you see, that's what happens when you use inexpensive fabric. The only other couple of changes I made was that a couple of things I cut on the bias. I cut the yoke on the bias. I did my cuffs, I think, on the bias, and I'm not sure that it really shows to anybody but me. And I also did the collar and the collar stand on the bias, but because of the potential for stretching, rather than just interfacing one collar and one collar stand, I did them both just to be on the safe side. So yeah, that's this dress. Bit more formal, is it formal? Don't know that it's formal really, but certainly more traditional. And the other dress that I made is much more casual, I guess. This is dress number 2, quite different because basically it's a t-shirt dress. I saw this fabric in Leon's, which is my local fabric shop. They have a branch in Chiltern and a couple of others in the northwest. And I appreciate it's probably a bit of a Marmite print. Some people will kind of go, ooh. But to me it's got that mid-century kind of vibe that by now you probably know I really love. And I bought it sort of speculatively a couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, thinking I'll make something. And I'm not sure whether a t-shirt dress is really me, but I figured that it wouldn't take long to make. It's a style arc, I'm fairly sure it's called a Richie dress. It's a pattern I've had for a long time. I think it might have been one of the ones that they give away. You know, if you buy a pattern from Style Arc, every month they have a freebie. In fact, they have 2 freebies to choose from. And if you buy a pattern, you get one of their free ones. And I think it may have been one of those at some point. But yeah, I thought it's a sort of dress that on a warm day you can poodle around at home in, you know, perfectly fine to nip down to the shops if you need to nip down to the shops. And I thought, and if I find that I'm not wearing it during the day, I could wear it as a bit of a nightie, couldn't I? So I decided to give it a go. The only thing I did do, which was I was taking a bit of a risk, is that I've made it on, does knit fabric have a grain? I suppose it probably does, but I've made it the wrong way around because selvage to selvage was like that, and I wanted the lines to go, well, like I've done it, down. So I've in fact made it the wrong way around, but I think it's absolutely fine. So I'll go put it on. Okay, so lots of things that for me, I think are really successful about it. I mean, yes, it's just a t-shirt dress, but for me, I wouldn't want to feel like it was particularly clingy if I'm going to be wearing it out and about. And this is, for me, it's working just fine. This is a cotton jersey, by the way, so yeah, I mean, not as clingy perhaps as a viscose jersey. I made a size 14, which is pretty much guaranteed to fit me in Style Arc patterns. Their patterns, yeah, don't think I've ever had an issue with any of their patterns ever fitting me. I certainly never bother with tiles because I know a 14 is always going to work really well. So yeah, not too clingy. Obviously it doesn't have pockets, which perhaps I should have put in. But I like the fact you've got the dropped hem. I don't know, something just gives it a little bit more interest with the dropped hem, but it's like a standard hem at the front, so it's not strictly speaking a high-low, which is not a hemline that I particularly like. So yeah, I like the dropped hem, and I made no changes to the length of it. So I think that works pretty much okay. And also I really like the neck and the cuffs. So it has like a cuff and a neck band. It does mean that if you think that you're going to get away with making the whole thing on the overlocker, you're not. I tend to do that with t-shirts because I'm lazy. I just think, oh yeah, I can do the whole thing. But obviously with the neckline, you need to use your sewing machine really, because it takes a little bit more fiddling around. And the V-neck on this isn't done so that the binding is overlapped. It has a proper seam in the middle at the centre front, which you don't always get with sewing patterns, just because it's a little bit more complicated to do. And I can't remember whether the style arc instructions were very good at guiding you through that process, because if you've ever made anything with any style arc patterns before, you'll know that they provide the briefest of instructions. So it's not that difficult to do. I knew how to do it anyway, so I probably didn't even look at them. But if you fancy making it and you want to do that kind of proper V neckline, have a little look on YouTube. There's bound to be somebody doing a tutorial for how to do that, because it does give a really nice finish and it's sitting really nice and flat as well. So overall, I think it's been a bit of a success. I definitely would wear this dress, you know, poodling around at home or on holiday. I'd wear it to the supermarket quite happily. And I'm really pleased that I used this jersey. I feel like this pattern is a good one for this time of year, certainly if you're in the UK, when, yeah, you do want to just put something dead easy on, but also for using those really nice jersey prints, because like I said, I bought this speculatively and there was every chance that that jersey could have been just sitting on the side for ages waiting for me to come up with inspiration. So I'm glad to have used it. I think I'll definitely get wear out of it, and if I find I don't, like I said, I'll just wear it in bed. So that's it for today. I've been doing some really nice pattern testing this week, but I can't tell you about that just yet. I have actually been doing quite a lot of sewing, so I've got quite a few things to show you over the next few weeks. I just have to drag myself away from my machine to come and do this, because that's my problem. I get so caught up in sewing, I don't really want to stop sometimes. Anyway, I'm sure you all feel the same. Please let me know what you think about the dresses I've made. I feel like they're kind of quite one extreme to another. Maybe you don't, but for me that shirt dress is more formal than I would normally wear, and this is more casual than I'd normally wear. Anyway, let me know what you think. I will be back very, very soon. I am on Instagram trying to keep up with Me Made May. Don't know that I'll necessarily post every day this month, but I'm doing my best. So, oh, I'll tell you what would be really nice is if you're doing Me Made May, I'd like to follow some more people on Instagram. So please let me know in the comments what your name is and I'll go follow you, because that'd be great. Okay, see you soon. Bye-bye.